Hey everybody, it's Sean and Julie from Chicory's Travels, and we're making this video because we just did a live and we had some technical difficulties that I actually figured out. Well, we actually figured out after, but we wanted to record the information in a video format just so we could still share it even though we had those problems.
So after 4 years this month, I think, of full-time RV life, we've decided to share what we think are the pros and cons. And we're going to share 5 pros and 5 cons.
And we're going to start with the cons.
Bad news first, get it out of the way.
So the first con is what?
Continual maintenance and upkeep.
Yep. So we've had, in the last 2 weeks, we've had to replace one of our level up jacks. The seal on the bottom broke or wore out, and so it was leaking hydraulic fluid pretty bad actually. And then just over the weekend we had we were moving from Virginia to Crossville, Tennessee, and we blew a hydraulic line going to a different jack, and it made quite a mess.
Oh, that made a big mess. When we went to level it, it was spurting everywhere.
So we got that replaced, and then today we were emptying our black tanks and our sewer hose has a little leak in it, so we're gonna have to replace that now.
So these are just examples of things that happen along the way. I mean, you have your preventive maintenance that you also need to do, like we need to flush the water heater. What are some other preventive maintenance things? Batteries, making sure the batteries are okay, you know, making sure the seals around the slides are good, and you have to spray those every once in a while to keep them from drying out, checking the tires. And we actually replaced the tires last year. Yeah. So those are some kind of things that you can plan for, but then the other examples were things that you can't really plan for. Right. And that kind of leads us to con number 2, which is there are a lot of variable and fluctuating expenses in an RV. Yes. And so let me just say real quick, last year we kept track, and we still keep track. We have an app called Every Dollar, and we keep track, and we actually have, I'll put a link in the description, and it'll probably also pop up here somewhere. I'll put a link to a blog post that we have, and what we did last year, we tracked every single thing that we paid for, and so we did an article on it, and we show you our actual expenses of full-time travel for 1 full year, and it includes all our maintenance, like our new tires and other variable expenses like campgrounds. Why, you want to tell them why campgrounds vary? Why do they vary? They're just different costs. I mean, they charge different per place. Usually because of the place. Yes. Yeah. I mean, like Fort Wilderness at Disney World was like the most expensive last year. If we'd have made it to the Keys, we couldn't because of the hurricane, but that would have been pretty pricey. We're going to Arizona for December and January coming up, and so that's kind of expensive. Yeah, so there's a lot of variation in expenses. Gas, for instance. Gas is insane right now. And depending on how often you travel, your gas is a little more. Like we're getting ready to move down to Florida, and we're gonna be there for like 5 weeks. So for the month of August, we actually will not be moving the RV, because we're going down there at the end of July and we're leaving in September. So that's going to be a good month for gas. Yeah, and we're staying on a cheap campground. But last month... Yeah, last month was insane for gas, and I think we paid like $3.55 a gallon somewhere for diesel. But then other times of the year it's below $2.50 a gallon, so you just have to plan and make sure you have a good budget and stay on top of it. Yeah. But it's definitely a con to traveling. Yep. The third is unreliable internet. Most campgrounds we've stayed at, the internet hasn't been that great. Yeah. We have 2 Verizon jetpacks that we use, and we also use our cell phones, and so we
invested a couple months ago. We invested in a WeBoost, and that has really helped out our internet. I don't know the word
solution,
I'm looking for.
I guess.
Our internet solution a lot. I mean, although
it's not perfect.
It's not perfect, but it definitely helps.
It definitely helps. Although to me, internet still I don't know how. I mean, at my age, I've obviously lived half of my life without internet, really, right? And so I don't know why I need it so badly now, but because it's not just work. We do need it for work. Yeah. But also it's the way we communicate with our kids with FaceTime and, email, and Sean likes to stream his Netflix. So having the WeBoost definitely helps. And if you want to learn a little more about that, we'll put a link to the article on our blog post about the pros and cons of RV travel. And in there, in the internet section, I put a link to an article that was written by Eric and Tammy Johnson of Techno RV about how a WeBoost may help you. Yeah. So the next con to RV travel is that it can get lonely. We have each other, so that's good, but you leave your family and friends behind oftentimes. The friends part wasn't so hard for us because being in the military, we traveled every 3 years, and we were kind of, it's sad, but you're kind of used to leaving your friends, right? Yeah. And then
you
maintaining
find other ways to keep in touch.
Yeah. But leaving the family is hard, and I think it was just doubly hard for me because we became empty nesters at the same time we started RVing. And we became empty nesters because it was that time in the boys' lives. But I guess for me, maybe emotionally now, they're kind of linked, like RVing and leaving my boys. Now our boys actually, since that time, they've all moved. Well, 2 of them have moved to Texas, and 1 of them was still stayed in Northern Virginia. So even if we lived there,
we would only see 1 of them.
We would only see 1 of them. So, or if we lived in Texas, we'd see 2 of them, but not the other one. So now RV travel is actually a solution. Yeah,
it's actually worked out for us.
Yeah, right now we're in Tennessee, which is where my parents live, and in 2 weeks we're going to Florida, which is where Sean's parents live. So it can be, all of these cons, if you notice, can be kind of flipped on their head. Yeah, and you can make the best of it.
What's the last one?
The last one is uncertainty.
Yeah, so Julie's a big planner. I'm not so much of a planner. So this is not as big of a con to me as it is for her, but not knowing where we're going to be in a few months becomes a challenge for Julie. Just her personality makes it tough.
Yeah, it is hard for me because I want to know and I want to have reservations. And I have tried it Sean's way. And when we were coming out here, I said, okay, we won't make any reservations. And then when we started talking about where we wanted to go in the summer and over 4th of July, what happened?
We couldn't get into the places where we wanted because they were booked already.
Yeah, so I guess we both need to find a balance. Yeah. I maybe can try to relax a little bit about it, but at the same time, if we're going to want to be somewhere high demand, we do kind of at least have to have a rough plan. And now what I'm trying to do, because I am planning our travel for the winter, because we're going to be in Arizona and California and it's going to be high demand, is I'm at least trying to maybe book at places that have a refundable deposit, or maybe you only lose, like Florida State Parks, you only lose $15 if you have to cancel your reservation. So I can still have a reservation and still not have that stress about it, but we can also change our plans if we want to. How's that?
But hey, it's the 3rd of July and we have reservations through February, right? Or through January.
Yeah, through February. You're right, because we're staying all of December and all of January. So part of February. Yeah, so we do.
We're planning pretty far ahead right now.
Yeah, and then my other thing is just also not planning like month to month where you're going to be in the RV, but I just like to plan my life, So like we know we're not going to full-time RV forever.
So we're working, if you guys have followed any of our other blog posts or videos, you know that we're real big on paying off the debt. We're trying to become debt free. We're getting very close. So just last night we had a budget meeting, and I said, usually month to month we'll just talk about the monthly budget, but I said let's reassess where we're at in terms of our short-term goals and our long-term goals, because we don't want to full-time RV forever. We want a part-time RV for as long as we possibly can, but we do want to buy a house. So I was like, when do we want to buy a house? How much do we want to have for that house? You know, so there's some uncertainty with that too. So yeah, but it's, you know, it's not just RV. I guess that could happen anywhere, right?
Yep. Okay. Pros.
But it's not all bad. It's not all bad. We're doing this because we love it.
Yep.
Because the pros outweigh the cons, and
Big
as long
time.
as the pros outweigh the cons, that's how long we're going to full-time RV.
Yep. So the first pro or benefit is we get to travel and see new places and experience new cultures. We've really enjoyed traveling throughout our lives. We've both traveled quite a bit, but we didn't travel extensively in the United States. And getting an RV is the perfect way to do that.
Yeah, I think we were in the military. We were both in the Air Force for 20 years. And I've pretty much been stationed from the southern part of the United States, from California to Georgia, California, Nevada, Texas. I've been to Arizona, been to New Mexico, Florida, Georgia, Virginia, all with the Air Force. Oh, Alabama. But not really any like northern places, so definitely.
And you don't really get to see a lot if you're in somewhere for a short time with the military because you're working.
Yeah, and even when you live there, like we raised 3 sons, so they were very active in sports and band and all these different activities, the scouts, and we looked at RVs for a long time when the boys were still at home, and we never got one because we knew we'd never have a free weekend anyway. Yeah, so now we have all the free time we want.
And who knew there were so many waterfalls in this part of Tennessee?
I know.
We get to go out and explore different state parks and city parks and county parks and natural areas, and it's just amazing to me what we've missed in the country that we're able to see by traveling in this RV.
Yeah, and it really is a pro of traveling, because when you travel, you are looking for the things to see and experience. So a perfect example of that is we're here because my dad lives right down the road, and we were visiting him yesterday, and I said, hey, have you ever been to Ozone Falls? And he was like, no, what's that? And it's just 8 miles from the campground. Is this amazing little waterfall. Like there's like maybe a 5-car parking lot.
Yeah.
It's a tiny little thing. So most people around here, it's not even like something that they hear about a lot, because it's not the big, like there's big Cummins Falls and Burgess Falls. But it was nice.
It was nice.
Yeah. Sean got a real cool picture with the drone. Check out our Facebook page, Chicory's Travels, and you can see me standing, and it's kind of scary afterwards because it didn't look real safe. Okay, so pro number 2, traveling the RV way, no packing.
No packing. We carry everything with us everywhere we go.
Yep.
So.
And it works for me because one of my problems, well actually it works for him because he doesn't have to lug around my big suitcase, right? Because when we travel like by, even when it was just regular road trip or especially by air, I like to have options. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna wanna wear. So like you went for business and I tagged along with you, and I thought I was gonna be all casual. And then he had a fancy dinner, and I either had to buy something new or I couldn't go because I didn't have any like proper attire for it. So often when I travel now, I overpack because I want to make sure I have something for every contingency, and then the suitcase gets pretty large. So this is nice.
And at that dinner, it was interesting because it was a little restaurant in Atlanta that not many people know about, and we ended up eating, well, I ended up eating,
I couldn't go.
Kangaroo, octopus, and duck, which was amazing. I never had kangaroo before. I've never even seen it on a menu anywhere. And at this little restaurant, I was able to try it. So
I had the choice of going or buying something new to wear. I chose not to buy something new to wear, and I'm glad, because I don't think I would have eaten any of those things.
yeah, so again, it's just interesting things when you are able to travel. You get to experience neat stuff that you wouldn't otherwise get to do.
And that really is like the perfect segue to pro number 3, because one of the reasons why we really get to see all the neat little things that you don't when you only have a couple days somewhere is because we're taking our time. That's, to us, I mean, not everyone RVs that way, but for our style of RVing is slow travel, and we like to stay like sometimes 2 weeks, but really we prefer like 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to go to Florida for 6 weeks. We're going to be staying in Arizona for 2 months this summer because we haven't. I mean, this winter. 2 months because I've been to Tucson, but you haven't, right?
No, never.
So yeah, being able to travel slowly is when you not only get to see more, but I feel like you get to enjoy it more. Because we went to Hawaii for our anniversary a few years ago. We got a rental car. We're on an island, and we put 800 miles on that rental car because I wanted to see everything in the guidebook in 7 days.
It was the big island, but it was still a little excessive.
Yeah. So it's good to be able to take your time, because now we can go and see things and then have a day or 2 of rest in between.
Yep. Number 4, strengthening our relationship. So we spend most of our days together, and we're in the 44-foot fifth wheel, which we only use about 35 of it. So we spend a lot of time close, and you really have to work out any issues you have. So improved communication, definitely improved overall relationship, because you either have to get along or leave. And
after 4 years on the road, I think we've decided to get along, right?
Yep.
No, actually, we always felt like we were very close to begin with. When we first looked in an RV and thought, could we downsize to this? We realized that even though we had this huge house with 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms and a basement, all that extra space was for the kids.
Yeah.
Not for us, because if we were home, we were usually like, if we were in the living room, we were both in the living room. If we were in the bedroom, we were both in the bedroom, you know. We didn't really, like, he didn't have like a man cave he went to, and you know, me have another area that I was in. We had the open floor plan, so even when I was cooking and he was watching TV, we were kind of in the same space. And so in the RV, it's really the same way.
Yeah.
But I think the big difference is, like, even just with our talking about traveling and experiencing things, we do more of that together.
Yeah. And even like little things like backing in the RV, you really have to learn how each other communicates to be able to do that effectively. So
and I'm laughing because
until we figured that out,
it took us a while.
It was a fight, but now
remember the lazy days. Tell them about the lazy days.
Julie ended up walking away from me, and the neighbor had to come out and help because what she was saying I wasn't understanding. So
and I got so frustrated, and I didn't want to say something I regret. So I walked to the bathhouse and just sat in there for a while, and I came back and he was parked because the neighbor came out and said, "What?"
I can't remember.
I know how them wives are or something.
Yeah.
So he commiserated with Sean and helped him back it in. But after that, I think that was a turning point.
Yeah.
And so the last one is learning flexibility. I've already talked about how I'm like probably an extreme planner. So traveling full time, this has helped me the most, I think. I've learned to be a little more flexible. I still make reservations, but I make sure that they're not non-refundable. That way I still feel okay that we have reservations, but I'm able, like if Sean says, let's do something else instead, I say, okay, let's see if we can get in someplace. And if we can, all right, fine. Let's change the plan. So it's definitely made me more flexible in that sense, I think.
Yeah.
And more flexible in like the Hawaii thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to see all these things, and I was just going to be like so disappointed if I didn't get a chance. But being in the RV and staying a little longer in places, I'm okay. If like I would have freaked out in Hawaii if I would have felt like we were wasting 3 days of our vacation if we didn't go sightseeing. But now, if we don't go sightseeing for 3 days, it's all good.
Yeah, if we want to stay home and read a book, or if it happens to be bad weather, we don't have to worry about it. We still have other days to be able to see what was on our list for that day. So.
Yeah. So those were the 5 pros and 5 cons to us. They're different for everyone. If you have any pros and cons that you've experienced in your travels, please share them in the comments below. Or if you're not traveling yet and you're dreaming about it, and maybe you have concerns or worries about other things, like, you know, some people, they're worried about the mail, or they're worried about the black tanks, or, you know, there's a whole host of things. Feel free to drop a comment, ask a question, or head over to chickeriestravels.com and leave a comment or question there, or hit contact us, and you can send us a private email, and we reply to every single email.
Yes. We want to meet everyone, we want to interact with everyone, and so let us know what's on your mind.
Yep. And one of the cons that we had talked about was it being lonely on the road. And one way that we found to combat that is to meet up with other RVers and then stay in touch using social media. We have a Facebook page and Instagram. And Instagram I'm especially active on. I try to post a picture every day and location tag it. And so if I see someone's in my area, or sometimes someone will see I'm in their area, and we'll correspond that way and meet up. So please follow us on Facebook or Instagram and let us know if our paths are going to cross. We would love to meet you. We have several other friends that we keep in touch with now, and we'd love to add you to that list.
And until we meet you on the road, safe travels.